You know, even if I wasn't worried about using the new intro for GH, as far as copyright is concerned, I still wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't do it just because it's just that lazy. Good evening and salutations, my soap opera fans. While I was listening to going to my little nostalgic, thing with the music and everything, I was sitting there thinking, which one should I do first? I think we'll sit there and start off with Sonny, who done lost his damn mind. Now, if you saw the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My whole thing is like, you know, if you wouldn't have came up in there like you was entitled, start bossing people around, telling people what you're going to sit there and do, I'm pretty sure this conversation would have went a lot smoother. Now, I know that people are going to sit there and say that's his grandson, he's worried, he's concerned. I don't give a shit, okay? Because, honestly, tell you the truth, his grandson put himself in that situation. Now, the other two idiots are about to sit there and make it worse, and I'm going to get to them in a second. But, when he walks in, he's like, oh, I need to sit there and speak to her, alone or whatever. She was like, yo, listen, you don't tell me what to do, and I don't sit there and take threats. Now, she finds out from him that he's been assaulted. And she tells him that Dalton's supposed to show up. He did the forensic work. Turns out the dude is lying. And, at this point, he's like, I want him out now and everything like that. And, she's like, hey, listen, I'm going to take care of it or whatever. Because, listen, as backwards as the way that they went about getting the evidence and everything like that, she is still doing her job, okay? And all the threats and temper tantrums and stuff like that, bro, you don't run shit. That's the bottom line. You do not run shit. Um, so yeah. Now the other side, you pretty much got Rocco, Charlotte. Well, Charlotte comes in with Lulu. Nathan's like, yo, listen, you gotta come with me. So Charlotte goes in there with Alexis and Jason and Laura. And, because they want to sit there and rehearse and stuff like that. Now, this whole thing is a complete and utter waste of the time and waste of a scene because Dalton's dead. This whole rehearsal part, it's just unnecessary. But as they are rehearsing the story, they're like, yeah, and this is when Dalton punched Rocco in the stomach. Three of them are looking at each other like, what? Like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So they were like, all right, how about we just go outside and y'all just do your thing and we'll be right back. So they go outside and they're like, yeah, they're clearly lying. And they're really bad at it. And they're going to wind up getting in trouble if we let them go through it. So Alexis goes back in there. Alexis is like, no. That's not what happened. You're just going to make it worse. You're going to get in trouble. You're not helping out your brother by doing this. Again, it's just ultimately a waste of time because Dalton's dead. And, Laura kind of said that, like, well, it's a good thing, that Dalton's whatever. And she didn't say it, but Jason was like, he's nowhere. He's nowhere to be found. Um, Now, Britt comes to see Rocco, and she snaps at the guard, and, Rocco's like, hey, listen, my grandfather's going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. Britt's like, he could probably want to make it worse. I was like, I don't know if he can actually make it worse. He looks pretty banged up. Um, but then, after she cleans him up or whatever, and because she's a doctor and everything, she goes to Sitwell. Now, Sitwell is with Ava. Ava's not there trying to move this merch. She's trying to sit there and move these paintings, and Sitwell, he's just not a good move. Not a good move, Measure she didn't get passed. He can't sit there and get his peers, so he's just not really there with that, right? Britt comes in. Britt's like, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. We're going to have to sit there. I don't know if I'm interrupting you, and I don't care. So it was like, you're being kind of rude. It's like, okay, you know what? Listen, if you want to sit there and stay, fine, then I'll just sit there and have this open discussion with her there. So Sid was like, okay, fine, listen, we'll do it another time. And, pretty much kind of just gets at her like, yo, listen, you saw what I did with Dawn, right? You want me next? Now, of course, Britt's still leveraging that whole. Well, I'm the only person that can finish, my father's work and da 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 and whatever. Um, but while they're talking, they're going back and forth, and she's like, I need your help. Rock got assaulted and everything. Someone makes a comment. I don't exactly remember what comment was it, but whatever this comment was, Britt's like, you're the one that had that arrange. You're the one that had Rocco get beat up. And he pretty much just admits her like, hey, listen, I have long reach. And you should know that. And you might want to sit there and think about that the next time you decide you want to go off on Sitwell. I mean, dude just literally shot somebody right in front of you. Like, yeah, it's going to take longer to find somebody else that can do what you do, but you're not irreplaceable. It just may take some time to sit there and find another you. But honestly, to tell you the truth, I personally think that Sitwell should start looking. Um, Now Lulu gets there with Nathan, and Nathan is like, "All right, we can't wait for another bail hitting because you've been targeted either because it's Sunny or Dante, but you've been targeted, so we're gonna move you." That's exactly what he does. He tells security guards like, "No, we're going back to Portia House. I mean, we're going back to the police station." And Lulu thanks him, and Rocco and Sunny go into the interrogation room, and Justine starts barking at him like, "Yo, listen, you weren't supposed to sit there and do that." Nathan says something. I exactly remember what it was, but it was like, yeah, I don't exactly remember what it was, but Justine was like, okay, just this one time I'm going to back you on this. I'm like, Justine, if you would have sat there and followed actual protocol, you wouldn't have to sit there and be looking in a position where you have to back him. But okay, boom, fine. Let's make it look like you're doing him a favor because you didn't do your job properly. Whatever. Um, then she goes back in the room with Rocco and Sonny and says, most likely you're going to get bail. We will push it to this afternoon. And you should be very lucky that you have people, looking out for you. Now, I don't know what's going to go on with this romance. Um, I don't know how Justine's going to sit there and take some dude just barking in, just walking on in and telling her what to do. But then she may be sympathetic, be like, oh, he's a concerned grandfather. He's just looking out for his grandson, and he'll probably wind up apologizing later on. Good luck with that. I don't have patience for that. You bark at me one, I don't give a shit how many times or what kind of apology you give me. Um, and Drew and Willow. So Willow comes back, and Drew's like, how's it feel to be back home? And Willow's like, honestly, tell you the truth, a little weird. My kids aren't here. You got shot here. This is just not giving me good vibes. And plus, I mean, aren't you worried that they're going to come back and, finish the job or whatever? Drew once again puts Michael on the bus. Yeah, just because Michael sat there and tried to end me, it's not going to stop me from living my life and pretty much having it revolve around Willow. Um, they talk a little bit more, and Drew at this point proposes to Willow. Says one is going to sit there and strengthen your case, but two, because I love you and everything. Willow's not sure, but Willow does it. And honestly, to tell you the truth, here's the thing: she's been playing him for so long. I forgot that she was still Smith there playing him. While that's going on, Michael and Liz are talking. There's a point where Liz is Smith there saying like, if you don't want Willow to move in with Drew, let her be able to sit there and see the kids. This way she doesn't move in with Drew. Michael, when he was in Germany in the burn clinic and he was by himself, he was like, Willow didn't even bother to sit there and try to facilitate a visit, any sort of visits between me and the kids. You didn't even sit there and try. Like that one time that you came to see me, but other than that, you really didn't. So like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do what's best for the kids or anything like that. I can't. I can't just let that shit go. Um, Later on, he finds out that not only that it's confirmed that she moved in, but also that Drew is marrying Willow, and I think that's Lila's wedding ring. So yeah, that's just a personal low blow right there. Now the conversation with Nina and Liesel don't really go that much anywhere. It feels more of a recap. Liesel at one point was um, Nina to use her platform to sit there, the magazine, and try to like raise awareness towards Rocco's injustice. But Nina's like, um, Lulu's in a much better position to sit there and do that. They talk about Willow and everything like that. They start playing the blame game, like Liesel blames Nina for that false alibi that got her in more trouble. And Nina, for some odd reason, decides to blame Liesel for even having to come up with that idea because Liesel was the one that was like, it was Sasha that was moving. I mean, it was Willow that was moving Sasha's baby around. It was like, if you didn't sit there and put that into my head, I'm like, nah, boo boo. Mm-mm. You're not going to sit there and play the play game. That shit is on you and you alone. And she was like, honestly, to tell you the truth, it doesn't matter because I had to throw Portia under the bus as another possible suspect, which ultimately proved to be pointless because she's also like Michael's alibi ain't worth shit. Now Ava comes over there and Ava's like, yeah, just saw Britt or whatever. They talk about Britt for a little bit until Drew decides to just sit his ass down there and it's like, oh, so you coming over for Thanksgiving? I mean, trust me, it's gonna be at Thanksgiving. You're gonna remember or whatever. He needs witnesses, and they're gonna probably get married on the spot. You got those connections, that money to sit there and just get a priest to come down there on Thanksgiving Day. And Willow, listen, Willow's gonna do whatever Willow needs to do to get those damn kids. Because now she thinks that Michael is a bad influence. I'm like, bro, like sis, you're gonna be living with Drew. But then again, she's playing him, right? So my whole thing is like, what happens when Drew finds out that Willow has been playing him the entire time when she gets back her kids, right? What? Why do? Okay, why do I feel like this is going to turn into a Lifetime movie? And I'm talking about like the '90s one. Where the guy is always the bad guy, whatever, and now he's the powerful, rich senator, whatever, that has all this reach and is going to sit there and try to make sure that he gets her back or whatever. It's, it's just giving me those damn Lifetime vibes. It really is. What a weird episode. Let's see. I feel like that's generally about it. There might have been some stuff I could have missed here or there, but that is the general gist of the episode. Now, if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. Um, I'm gonna sit there and say 8, maybe 8:30, depending on what time I get out of work. But I'm gonna try to shoot for 8, and I'll talk about all the stuff that wound up happening today and tomorrow and everything that I missed. And we'll sit there and go over all the soaps. And as you know, just to let people know, the only show that's actually going to be on Thursday and Friday is Days of Our Lives. Yeah, Thursday and Friday. All the other shows, are not going to be on. So, If unless something changes now, no go. I'm pretty sure all the other shows and stuff for days is going to be the only new show. So if I miss anything, let me know in the comment section, and I will sit there and see you on the next video.